by the way, of the Steve Barker Radio Show, KGM1.com. And we've been doing a political piece, talking to a lot of these men and women about the political landscape in Richmond, California. And one thing I realized was that there's a lot of different ideas about, which way we should go. So I thought if we got everybody together and had a town hall meeting and hear them, and you get to ask them questions, we'll get a better idea of where we're going. So with that, and by the way, anybody can have a town hall meeting. So if you have an idea about something you want to champion or support, call a town hall meeting, and we'll get behind it. Okay? So let's get started. We have Pastor Mark Gandy. Give him a hand. He was so gracious to allow us to use this. We really appreciate him. And he's going to open up some prayer for us.
Before we do that, just a little bit of housekeeping. The restrooms are right in the next building. The women's restroom is the first door on your left, and the men's is the third door on your left. And if you could silence your cell phones at this time, it would be greatly appreciated. All right, let us bow our heads. Gracious and mighty God, we thank you for this day, a day that you have made. And we ask, God, that you would lead us even in this town hall meeting. We pray that everything would be done decent and in order. And we pray, Lord, that you would lead us and guide this city to great heights.
Yes, God.
And we pray, Lord, that you would continue to make us a city of purpose and not just pride. This we ask in your name. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Great. Well, welcome. There's the welcome. We're glad all of you took time out of your busy schedules to come on this wonderful Saturday. We don't take it lightly. We really, really appreciate that. Is State Assemblywoman Elizabeth Echols, candidate for State Assembly, is she here?
Yes, right here.
Hey, there she is. Give Ms. Echols a hand. Is Ms. Irma Anderson in the building? Okay, well, we'll still present her. We'll come on up. We'll just recognize her real quick and move forward. Irma Anderson has been, we're honoring two people today. Come on up for their community activism. And one is former Mayor Irma Anderson. She's been in the community for years, doing wonderful work. And so we thought it'd be good just to recognize her. And we're also going to recognize another young lady sitting over there, who happens to be my mom, for her work in the community.
Thank you so much for having me here today. It is a true honor for me to acknowledge the wonderful and extraordinary Honorable Irma Anderson. She has been a lifelong activist, and her dedication to the community is truly unparalleled. She received her RN and BSN degrees from Cornell University and her master's in public health from UC Berkeley. She then ran for office and became a trailblazer as the first African-American woman serving on the Richmond City Council. She later became mayor, and as mayor, Honorable Anderson had many accomplishments, including developing the after-school programs that we still benefit from today. Her dedication to Richmond continues with her service on the board of Doctors Medical, and we know how important that is, and her ongoing fight to keep Doctors Medical open so that all citizens and people in West County can have access to health care. I want to thank her for all of her work and her example of leadership in the community, and I'm truly honored to be here today to present the Award of Community Activism to the Honorable Irma Anderson. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. State Assembly, she's running for State Assembly, District 16, right? 15. Elizabeth Echols. Give her another hand. Very good. Okay. So, Tex Anita Blewett, are you in the house? I think you are. Come on up here, mother. Let me come get you. This is my mama, y'all. And I said, I'm going to honor my mother for all of her wonderful work that she has done in the community. She's always down at City Council raising sand, as you guys know. But she loves this city, and we thank God for her. Yes, yes. And so when I thought about honoring her, I thought about all of the many stories I heard about her coming from the cotton fields in Texas, picking cotton, and then went out. No, she was saying that. That's right. Picking cotton, and then she was able to go to college from the cotton fields and got her nursing degree, and then went on to get a doctorate, and then she started teaching nursing at Samuel Merritt Hospital for many years. And just proud of you, Mom, and I thank God for all that you're doing and all you have done. Would you like to say something? She's never seen a mic she didn't like.
I was looking to see if this one was okay for me to speak with. I thank Stephen, and I thank God for him and for the work that he is doing in this community. And I thank each and every one of you who have chosen to come out and participate in this town hall meeting. I am a retired nurse professor, and being retired, everybody's on my case because they can never catch up with me. And I said, well, you don't run fast enough in the right direction. So I am very, very, very concerned about our city government and the things that's going on in our city. I too was at a federal hearing on last week regarding Doctors Hospital. And we just have some crisis situations in this community that we need to start paying more attention to. I don't have to worry so much about my care because I'm a lifelong Kaiser member. But Machilla thanks. Machilla and my neighbors and stuff. So I have to be concerned about everybody else's welfare as well as for my own. So I want to see what the candidates are planning to do to help us keep running and get up and go higher. Thank you, Stephen, my baby child. Thank you, child.
You're welcome, baby.
Love you, Mom. All right. All right, so now we're going to start with our candidates to introduce themselves to you. I thought it would be great for them to tell you who they are and why they're running. We have a 2-minute time limit on all questions and all introductions. We're going to be very strict on that. So when you hear me say the first thank you, that means your time is up. The second thank you, we're going to get you out of here. Kidding. So let's start with our mayoral candidates. Mr. Luce, would you begin by introducing yourself? And we do have some mics if you guys can. You can stand, sit, whichever. Mama says stand.
Clock's running.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Everyone's looking good. Don't start the counting now. All right. So this is really great. I'm excited. I think with most folks here are excited. So if this is your first time hearing me speak, I'm going to assume that it is your first time. So I speak with accent. So get used to it. So we will eventually have a mayor here that speaks with accent. So it's good for Richmond. But let's get down to why we're here. We're here because we have some issues in Richmond.
That's right.
We have some challenges in Richmond. The last debate we had, every member of every candidate said we need a change in leadership. So there's no issue there. So the question is, who is the best person for that leadership? Who has what it takes to make that happen? Richmond is a very diverse community, very, very diverse. A community that is filled with resources, a lot of resources in Richmond.
Thank you.
Forever, we have had leadership here that have not done anything to use this. So this is why I'm running, because now for the first time, you have a candidate that will actually use our resources to make Richmond better. We've had candidates here
Thank
that
you.
have run for office for the rest of forever. So.
All right, these are politicians, y'all, so I need been on my show. I gotta pull a coattail. Mr. Charles Ramsey, Mr. Nat Bates, you're not running for the mayor, right? All right, Mr. Nat Bates.
Thank you very much to the new senior, Mr. Parker, Pastor Gandy. Thank you for allowing your church to be used for this occasion. I'm Nat Bates. I think most of you know me, unless you moved to the city about 2 or 3 months ago. I'm a candidate for mayor, and I'm a proud candidate for mayor. We have serious challenges at the City Hall. One is we have a $7.1 million deficit that has to be addressed. Unfortunately, the majority of the council chose to kick the can down the road for the endorsement of Local 1021. City manager came forward with a budget reduction of at least 17 employees. Well, it didn't happen because of the political aspect. But we have a number of problems we have to deal with. We have a $141 million revenue budget with $134 million revenue. That's why the deficit is there. The only way you can reduce that deficit is either through a reduction of staff or increase in revenue. I'm business orientated. We need businesses in this city to provide not only revenue, but jobs as well. And that's the only way you can balance a budget is increase revenue or reduction in staff or a combination of both.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your attendance, and I look forward to continuing to communicate with you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Butts.
Like my colleague, Mr. Bates, I've served on the City Council for the past 19 years, and my priorities remain the same that they always have. Public safety, infrastructure in Richmond, streets, parks, community centers, jobs and economic development, and a healthy environment. Those are my priorities. I have been endorsed by all 3 living Richmond mayors, Irma Anderson, Rosemary Corbin, and Gail McLaughlin. I think, like my colleague, I want to continue moving Richmond forward, but as you may hear, we have some radically different ideas about how to do that. And I think that I hope you get a chance to hear what those are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Butts. Glad you could make it, Mr. Bouvet.
Good afternoon. I wrote mine down just so I can stay very succinct and to the point. My name is Javonta Beckles, the current vice mayor for the city of Richmond, and here's why I'm asking for your votes. The 1% and big corporations already have plenty of representatives. We don't need any more representatives that are going to be representing them. We need representatives that represent the people of Richmond. So since I've been elected, I've been committed to representing you, the city of Richmond, the people. I've been committed to working with small business people, unemployed, and all those who are still held back now to this day because of discrimination on a daily basis. This is what sets my standards. We're heading in a good direction. You're going to hear people say, we're heading in the wrong direction. No, look around you. Look how beautiful Richmond is looking. Look how peaceful Richmond has become. We are heading in a good direction, and it's important that we continue that. We've reduced crime. We've increased our minimum wage. We work to help those people who are facing foreclosure stay in their homes. We've reduced institutional racism and discrimination as well against the immigrant community. We have asserted the right and fought for the rights of the LGBT community in Richmond because every single person, human being in the city, should be treated with dignity and respect. My priorities for the next term, infill development. We've got a beautiful shoreline. We need to keep that and preserve it so that our future generations can enjoy it as well. We need job training, and it's important that we keep Doctors Medical Center open as a full-time hospital. And my priority includes the overall health of Richmond residents. I'm a healthcare person, and that's important to me that we head in a healthy direction.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. That's for Washington.
My name is Henry Washington. I've lived in Richmond off and on since I was born here. I love Richmond. I pastor a church here in Richmond. My grandfather was the first African-American police in the city of Richmond in 1941. And my uncle served on the city council for 4 terms. My priorities as a candidate for the city council are the public housing crisis, where black and brown and single mothers and seniors are forced to live in squalid conditions. I would love to see Doctors Medical Center stay open. I realize there's an $18 million annual negative deficit they're running at, but I think there are some ways that we can attack that. Number 3, I would love to see more decorum from the city council. Amen. I think it hurts the public relation between city government and you, the citizenry of Richmond, California. And number 4, I would like to see a continual drop in crime. And I'm not just saying that. Some of you know because you walked the streets with me, and we did all that we could to curb the violence, especially gun violence. And lastly, I would love to see you young people in a better position to go on to higher learning because you've had higher math, 4 years of English, and you get the opportunities that you deserve. That means addressing the achievement gap, attendance gap, and graduation gap. Thank you for this space.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. My brother.
Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Critter, and I'm running for a 2-year term as City Council here in Richmond. I'm in a unique position because I have 2 incumbents that are running. It's got me pretty much bowled in pretty tight, excuse me. And so it's a unique position, but it's a challenge. We also here in Richmond have a challenge also to vote in the right people and do the right job, to do the right things for Richmond. Richmond has failed in a lot of situations. We've become the stepchild to the rest of the community here in the Bay Area. All bad things come out, nothing good comes out. But there's good here in Richmond. Yeah. There's beauty in Richmond, just like Mr. Deco said. Excuse me, I'm sorry. The coastline is beautiful. Everything is great, but there's still work to be done. We can't be satisfied on these things. Crime has dropped. We want it to drop farther. Yes. We want Doctors Hospital to build a new hospital. We don't want to inundate Kaiser. We don't want to inundate Chevron with our problems where they benefit, give us a little money here and there, and then we walk away for a little while and it comes back and we're looking for the same money 10 years from now. So we really have to get together and have a cohesive group of people who's running this council. 7 people are making the decisions for 106,000 people. Yes. And they have to be together. You can't serve 2 gods when you get in that council. You have to be all one on one accord in order to make this thing work. Right. It hasn't been working. Our brand has been spoiled. I want to upgrade our brand. Richmond is a brand. It's a business. And you couldn't keep a job if you didn't do things business-like. You know, so we're failing. I'd like to see us do better, much better. And we can do it. We all can do it. Whether I win or lose, we all still have to work together and do it. So let's all come together today and forever here in Richmond and make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Critter. Brother King.
Thank you so much, Mr. Steve Parker, KGM1.com, and Pastor Gandy, the angel of this house. Thank you so much for this venue. My name is Damian King. I'm a 37-year-old lifelong Richmond resident. Our city is in a unique period of healthy transition, which calls for leadership that understands and appreciates the commonality of humanity, the importance of a well-diverse business community, culturally competent public safety policies, and adequate affordable housing for our residents. One of the reasons why I decided to run for city council is because I want to shake and change the narrative of the political climate in our city. As Mr. Greer stated, our current council as it's made up, it seems or it appears that more people are concerned about their popularity and their personal pride not being offended. Richmond is a city of pride and purpose. It's time for us to define what that purpose is. So that's what I want to do as a council member. And what our council can really benefit from is pragmatism. Individuals who can take in information, digest that information, and make sound decisions based upon what the people need and what they deserve. In order to be a true representative, you also have to be a leader. I want the people to understand that when people represent you for a period of time, they have to turn their back on you to negotiate and deal with business entities, community organizations. And for some reason, in our city, sometimes the politicians don't turn around and find out what the people want anymore. Once they get funded, once they get supported, it almost as if they don't have no desire to entertain what the people's wishes and desires are. Also, our young people, we have a whole generation who was misguided and undecided. Politicians haven't reached back to groom individuals who grew up in this community to take their place, to serve in a position, to serve this community in a way that understands the culture of this community. Now, I've experienced the trials, the tribulations, and all the drama. I can't even tell you how many funerals I've been to. But I want you to understand that when you get people who understand and desire what you want, they will serve you, and service is the key. That's what this is all about, pragmatism and service. Thank you so much. My name is Daniel King.
Hello, my name is Eduardo Martinez. I'm running for Richmond City Council. And if I were to boil down my position into two words, they would be community and relationships. We cannot have a community until we build relationships with each other. We need to build bridges so that we can work, and even if we disagree, still come to decisions that will be for the betterment of Richmond. The 20th century was the century of the corporation. That was the century that corporations began, and the century that corporations became international governments of themselves. This century will be the century of the people. This century will be the century that we, as individuals, get together and form our own organizations to help and lift ourselves up. I've been working for the community for 25 years, 18 of that as a teacher. And as a teacher, I co-founded March for Education, which helped our school district save millions of dollars and enabled us to pay off our debt 8 years early. I received an award in defense of good teaching for standing up for my students and making sure that they got the kind of education that they deserved. And I chaired and continue to chair the Contra Costa Unified School District Budget Advisory Committee. As a community member, I'm a founding member of the Richmond Environmental Justice Coalition and the Sunflower Alliance. I'm on the steering committee of the Richmond Progressive Alliance, and I'm a board member of the East Bay Sanctuary Covenant, which is an organization of religious groups who help immigrants with their legal situations.
Thank you.
So, with that, thank you. I will sign off and speak about my platform when it's time to close. Thank you.
Very good, very good. Thank you. And now all the other candidates have agreed to come on my show. He said something about not holding them accountable for what they promised, but we're going to follow them. After they're elected, I'm going to, every quarter, bring them in and see if they did the things that they promised when they were campaigning, along with the mayors and the city council. They've all agreed to do that.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Al Martinez. I'm currently running for the 4-year term for the council member of the city of Richmond. I've lived in Richmond almost 40 years. I have a great passion and desire to continue to be a leader and a spokesman for the community, the citizens and businesses of Richmond. I attend Bethel Temple Church right down the street, of which I've been an elder and a leader about 32 years. Many of you remember I was a police officer here in Richmond back in 1977. I was a community leader and a champion for us, the people, back then. And I recently retired from the United States Postal Service as Richmond's postmaster. Very proud of that. But I continue to be a leader, and I want to continue to be your leader. here in Richmond to make a difference. I've been in every community. I understand the mindset of the people and the citizens of Richmond, and I want to be the voice. I want to be the voice. As you've heard others say, that we have to stand up and make a difference together. United we stand, divided we have come from. And we need to move on. We need to move on. We need to make a difference. And I look forward, let me say that again, I look forward to the challenge because I've had it all my life. I eat challenges up, and I'm encouraged to go further with us together as one, and that's how we're going to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. J.L. Myrick.
Thank you. So I just want to brief. My name is J.L. Myrick, and I've been honored and blessed over the past year and a half, 2 years, to serve you, the people of Richmond, on the City Council. And I've been honored to be the only member of the City Council that represents my generation. I'm 29 years old. I've been honored to be the only member of the City Council that lives here on the south side of Richmond. I've been honored to be the only member of the City Council that comes from Kennedy High School. And I've been honored to stay focused on doing work that's going to have real benefits for the people of Richmond. That's been my focus. When I ran for council 2 years ago, I had this pretty ambitious idea that some thought was a little crazy, was that we should make sure that the money is available for every young person in Richmond to be able to go to college. And over the last 2 years, I've looked at different ways of getting it done, and through tough negotiations and tough work, we were able to get Chevron to commit $35 million to guarantee that over the next 10 years, that is a fact. Every young person in the city of Richmond who graduates high school will have money. Now, we have to set out a new ambitious goal. I've heard that in other cities that have this, in El Dorado, Arkansas, 90% of those kids actually take advantage and go to college. Well, if they can get 90%, we can get 100%. So I want us to focus, and that's going to require the work of everybody, regardless if you agree with me or not, to make sure that we as adults are encouraging our young people and making sure that they have the tools available so that they can succeed, so that 100% of them go to college. The other issue that is extremely important that we deal with, and a number of folks have talked about it, is there's no question about it. The Richmond City Council, the venom and the decorum that defines our council has to go. And so if you've watched me over the past 2 years, I've done my best not to play into any of that. I'm about getting action. I'm about doing things and getting work done. And I would like to be on the council for the next 2 years as we move towards a new stage in the council where, regardless of whether or not you agree with what everything we do, you know that when you watch your city council, you're not watching a reality show. You're watching a legislative, deliberative, professional body. Thank you.
All right, it's getting good in here. Mr. Jim Rogers.
Thank you very much. I'm Jim Rogers, and I'm here to run on my record. Crime is down in Richmond. We have about 2/3 less homicides than we did a few years ago. I led the fight. We passed 2 taxes, about $15 million a year. Almost all of it paid for by people who are either rich people, businesses like Chevron, or out of town. We could not have the ONS, we could not have the police we need and get the crime down without that money. So I worked with people, got it done. You want to talk about education? The program that myself and Councilmember Budd and Councilmember Myrick negotiated is a great one. Richmond Promise is great. The Waterford schools are closed. I led the fight to kept Kennedy open, kept Grant open, kept Linda open, and working with Board Member Charles Ramsey, we did in a way that actually didn't end up costing the city anything. So we have problems in the city. I acknowledge that. We're never going to be mistaken for Black Hawk, but we have a city that is willing to roll up our sleeves and work on that. And I'm part of that. From the potholes, they're lousy, but they're a lot less lousy than they were 4 years ago. I led the fight on that, got redevelopment money for it. Billboards, cigarette billboards gone, alcohol billboards gone. I led the fight on both of those. So I'm going to be working with the community, be working on the issues that matter, and the bickering, the politicking, the grandstanding. I ask you simply, look at me on Tuesday night, see if I'm part of that. Judge me too by my record on that. I'm very honored to have had the opportunity to serve for a number of years. We are making progress, and I very humbly ask for the chance to continue to work with you to make more progress. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can we Mr. Charles Ramsey? Well, you guys work that out. There you go.
All right, thank you for being here today. I appreciate all of you coming. My name is Charles Ramsey. I'm a candidate for the Richmond City Council for the 4-year seat. I also currently serve as the president of the West Contra Costa Unified School District. And contrary to what JL said, I actually live on the south side as well, and actually grew up on the south side. So I'm very familiar with every neighborhood in this community as well as every neighborhood in the city of Richmond. For me, the top priority is the fiscal situation in the city of Richmond. You heard from council member and mayoral candidate Matt Bates, who described that there's a $141 million deficit. $141 million expenditure right now with $133 million revenue. That's a big, big problem. And if Measure U does not pass, which is a measure on the ballot will give the city of Richmond another $7 million, they're really in deep shape. And stuff we have to really understand and acknowledge. And in addition, we have to keep education up. We need to talk about that as well. We haven't heard that as a priority. We heard about commitments and what has to happen, but people have to understand that it's a critical part of any city and its development. Those are some of my top priorities, as well as public safety. You've heard some of the things that have gone on here in the city of Richmond, but with the budget deficit and needing 205 positions filled, but only 168 filled right now, the situation that you're hearing about safe streets could churn rapidly if they don't resolve the budget issue. So I look forward to having a robust discussion today, listening to everybody here, and being able to communicate on the issues. Thank you for coming in. I look forward to talking to you today.
Last but not least, Mr. Corky Bouzet.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. To the Steve Parker Show, I want to thank you for coming to the south side of Richmond, my house. I want to thank the public for coming out. And as you know, you've heard all this stuff that everybody's talking. You heard JL talking about the schools and how he lives on the south side. Not true. 6 months ago he moved here. I've been on the south side all my life. I had a service station on 37th and Cuddy. I said when I got elected I wanted young people to follow in my footsteps and take my job. Now is his chance to take my job. So I'm going to tell you what, I've been working for you guys for an awful long time. You hear Councilmember Myrick talking about the Jerry Springer show at Richmond City Council. You know why? Because I'm standing up for you right here on the south side. Ladies and gentlemen, on the south side, Tom Budd, Javonka Beckles publicly on many, many occasions said, where is the south side? So I'd like to ask Councilman Budd, how'd you get here? You don't know where the south side is? You know, and then I have to ask, what have they done? You heard Myrick talking about his school thing. Well, let me be real clear with you. I think that all young people should be educated. But if the family is dead before they're educated, because he didn't think, because of his inexperience, to tell Butt and Rogers, hey, I'm not voting with you guys unless you put some money towards Doctors Hospital. He didn't do that. He didn't do that. Doctors Hospital is closing. I'm the one that raised all that heck. Yeah, there's problems at the Richmond City Council. You know why? Because they don't represent all people of the city of Richmond. We need to be treated just like Point Richmond. There are two cities in the city of Richmond, Point Richmond and the south side of West Richmond. And everybody knows that. I'm not here playing games with you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you what I have done. Anthony this year used to work for me at 37th and Cuddy. Anthony that went to Kennedy and all those other kids that went to Kennedy worked for me at 37th and Cuddy. I promised you I would never quit until I took up for you. For 33 years, I said that I would, and I did, and I'm elected, and I'm going to stay here. Thank you.
Give it up for your candidates for City Council of Richmond, California, as well as mayoral candidates. These are your people. Wow. All right. All right. So we're going to go into our question and answer period. And what we decided to do here was talk about some of the pertinent issues that face our city. And we're going to let the council members as well as the mayoral candidates, council member candidates, answer questions within a 1 minute time limit. We're going to be very strict on that, ladies and gentlemen, so that everybody can have an opportunity. And we're going to have 3 people answer each particular question. So whoever I guess I choose will address the question. So let's get started. Oh, let me introduce my co-host, Brother Robert Rogers of the West County Times. He's in the building. He's had a new baby. Congratulations. Yeah, he's had a new baby. Ms. Tayshian from the Post newspaper. She stepped out. Oh, there she is back there. Give it up for Ms. Tayshian. Those are my co-hosts today. And again, it's the Stephen Parker Radio Show, KGM1.com, just in case you know. Okay, let's get started. We have an issue that has been facing this community. Everybody knows about it. Many people have been talking about it, but the problem with the talking, there has been no solutions. And that's the doctor's hospital situation. It is so imperative that we keep this hospital open. They handle over 75% of all 911 calls in this area. The only other hospital is Kaiser. One gentleman had to be redirected because they closed the emergency room the other weekend. He went to Alta-Bates and he didn't make it. And so that's going to happen more frequently if this hospital closes. So my question is, ladies and gentlemen, if you were to be put in the seat of city council or mayor, what would you do to make sure that this hospital stays open? And we'll start with you, Brother Mayor.
Thank you. Well, I thank you for asking me that question. I thank you for asking that question first because I do want to respond to what's been said. Let's just be clear and let's be honest. From day one, from January 1st of this year, when I first got word that Doctors Medical Center was going to be in trouble, I acted more than anybody on the council to make sure we were doing everything to get it done, to try to save it. We called a special meeting. I called the mayor myself over the Christmas break and asked her to call a special meeting the first week of January so we could pass a resolution in support of Doctors Medical Center. After that, when Measure C was on the ballot, I did everything I could to support Measure C. Now, since he brought my name up, I'll bring his name up. Mr. Bouzet at that time period was talking about how his taxes were too high and how he was the only person at that first meeting that had anything negative to say about Doctors Medical Center. I was saying, what can we do to fix it? Now, in the time since then, you can look up for yourself in the Contra Times. It's been said that I actually proposed putting $18 million towards Doctors Medical Center out of that Chevron fund. Also working with Sacramento, we got SB 883, $3 million for Doctors Medical Center. So we're still working on it.
We have to abide by the rules, my friend. Mr. Butts, could you respond to that question, please?
Which one? This one?
That's fine.
Pay attention. So how you want to be the mayor? Okay, I guess I can't stand up. Well, you know, in 1 minute, about all I can say is that that the city of Richmond and the city council, that includes me, has done everything we can do to support Doctors Hospital. I think we all believe that it needs to be retained as a full-service hospital. And the city, you know, the bottom line is the city is not in charge of medical care in the county. The county is and the state is. And I think some of these things are moving forward. You know, there was legislation by Assembly Member Skinner that had put some more money into Doctors Hospital. And I'm hopeful that ultimately there'll be enough money cobbled together from various sources to make this work. And the city of Richmond and the city council and I, as a city council member, stand ready to support every one of these efforts just as we always have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Butts. Uche?
The issue here is really the issue of leadership in Richmond. For decades, we've had lack of leadership in Richmond. So what you see in Doctors Hospital is really that issue showing up there. So we have a hospital, if I'm elected, we don't want a hospital that can be a standalone hospital. All over the country, hospitals are merged with other hospitals. That's number one plan that I have, is to make it merging with other hospitals. That way it cannot be a standalone. It's not sustainable. We know that. So the other thing there is we have to change leadership in that hospital for a long time. The issue has been leadership issue in that hospital. The leaders are not doing what they're supposed to do. There's been a lot of money given to that hospital, but it hasn't been used properly. So we want to have leadership change there. And then when you look at the city council, the negotiation they're claiming they did, none of them actually presented that hospital in ways that it could have been saved. They had the opportunity when they were negotiating with Chevron. They made that, they did not prioritize that hospital. That's what the problem is.
And again, we hear people respond, but you know, there's really no concrete ideas to really try to save this hospital. It's unfortunate. Nancy Skinner, she's running for state assembly. She authored a bill, AB 39. You guys need to call down to the president and ask them to hear this bill. It would offer some federal funding to help Doctors Hospital stay open. I don't know how much.
It's 883 and it's on the governor's desk. It's 883.
883 and it's on the
governor's desk.
Oh, it's on the governor's desk. Thank you, Mr. Myrick. So let's call down there and support this bill. We have to keep this hospital open. Next, the Hacienda. It's a housing project in Richmond, California. It has been inundated with all kinds of rodents, bugs, and the people are now displaced. They have nowhere to go. It's been before the city council and the mayors for a while, and it just seems like nothing is getting done about it. Brother Washington, could you tell us what you would do if we were to put you in the seat of the city council to help these people in Hacienda?
Thank you, Mr. Grill. I think it is unfortunate that we have to face this while it's already in the position that it's in.
That's right.
It didn't get this way overnight.
Say it. That's right.
It's also unfortunate that a whistleblower from outside of Richmond had to show us our own dirty laundry. It's also unfortunate that the RAD application to get federal funding to address the Hacienda situation has only been filed within the last 30 days. Now, we were told that it would take at least 120 days to go over this application to see if it would be approved. But in that it's been over 6 months, there's that much more of a backlog. And this application is sitting somewhere. And while this application is not being addressed, there are seniors at the Hacienda still living in the same squalid, deplorable conditions that they have for over a decade.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez, Ed Martinez.
I can see that we're going to have a little confusion with Al and Ed, and I'm sure that's planned. But to address the housing situation, the major problem that we have is the fact that HUD has not provided the money necessary to upkeep the Hacienda housing. We need money to make things happen. And our government has not been responsive or responsible to the citizens that they represent. We also have a housing authority which has not been doing everything that they should have been doing. These conditions should have been put forth to the city council adamantly over and over and over again so that the city council would have known that something needed to be done. So,
thank you, Mr. Martinez. Mr. Courtney Bouze.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I love this. As you know, I'm the gentleman he was just talking about. City Council has chosen not to do anything. Check on me. I asked for the firing of Tim Jones. I am the housing liaison. They took me to task for even asking, since I was beaten up on staff. This gentleman sitting right here that's running for your mayor, read the newspaper. He said the people that live in the Hacienda think they live in a hotel that need maid service. You know why? Because they don't live in Point Richmond. You know, I am just that's the way that they treat people who have no voice. As I said when I was getting ready to be elected, I said that I would speak for those who had no voice and I would walk for those who had no feet. J.L. Myrie could have helped us do that. He and Javanka Beckles came down for a photo op. They have never been back to the Hacienda. Councilmember Bates and myself have put on 4 or 5 breakfasts. Antoine was there, NAACP was there, and we are doing what we need to do to help the people. But guess what? Ladies and gentlemen, don't get snookered. They don't care about you. They don't do nothing. Thank you. We did bring it to the council.
Thank you, Mr. Bouze. All right.
We're going to give vouchers to everybody.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Robert Rogers is going to give our next question.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Stephen. And thanks again to Stephen Parker for bringing them together. Wonderful, thank you. So there has been a lot of talk about crime in the city. We've seen the statistics. We know that it's improved greatly over the last 6 or 7 years, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One of the reasons may be the Office of Neighborhood Safety, which is an innovative program that is unlike many in any other parts of the city, or any other parts of the state, I should say. Every time there are budget constraints, there are some now, people wonder whether we ought to cut programs such as that. The question, let's start with Corky, Mr. Bouzet, if we could. What about the Office of Neighborhood Safety? Do you support that? And what will you do to continue this downward reduction in crime?
You know what, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you something. I came from the hood. I know exactly what's going on in the hood. And I have dealt with the Office of Neighborhood Safety, as you know, and I have been taking the task for it. My job is to make sure you are trained to have a job, to be employable. All I asked was for accountability. $2.5 million went to that program, and my question in that program is, what training and where are the people today 7 years ago? I've been beat up so bad about the Office of Neighborhood Safety, I'll leave it alone. But what I am going to say to you, you know, the crime is down. It's not about just the Office of Neighborhood Safety. They do a good job. They do a good job. But you know what? If I can't check and balance, as you heard Myrick say a minute ago, that, you know, we're not doing our job. My job as an elected official is to find out if you're doing your job when I'm paying the money for it. And when my black people still dying in the street, I have a question. I want to know, don't pay them not to shoot. Pay them to be employable after you teach them not to shoot. That's all I want. And it's, I'm not jumping on our own people.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Courtney. Let's take the next question. Let's go with Charles Ramsey, please. Can you address that as well?
Yeah, thank you. I think this is a multifaceted issue when you're dealing with crime and public safety. I think the Office of Neighborhood Safety is one component. It's important and critical that we continue it. I also believe that we have to support our law enforcement personnel and make sure they have the training and equipment and support, and we collaborate with them in the schools. But I think the third thing that has to be talked about is truancy. How do we continue to reduce the number of kids who are out on the street, don't have activities before and after school? We want to make sure we reduce that so that we have options for everyone. And finally, I think is the critical component. How are you going to be able to do that with the budget constraints that the city currently has? If you have that kind of deficit, it's going to be hard and difficult to continue that. But I think Mr. Bobian's done a good job in trying to ensure that that program stay vital and committed. So I think we have to continue that. I think it's complex, but when you address crime, you need multiple ways to address multiple issues.
Thank you. Let's go with Damian King next, please.
Am I going to be able to respond to the hits I'm taking?
We'll come to Myrick after this. Thank you.
I will say that this is an issue of transparency and having cultural, competent public safety policies. You have to look at some of these programs are so codependent upon outside funding that we need to start developing programs that look towards sustainable ways that they can continue to fund themselves or continue to engage the community in a way where they're not so dependent upon this soft funding, if you will. Also, we talked about a mindset change. I'm from the hood too. I still live in the hood. I'm probably the only candidate running from the Iron Triangle since the 70s. But I want to say that one of the biggest issues that we have is that there's a mindset change. If you can teach a young person that buying dope at wholesale and selling at retail is a transferable skill, that's the direction we need to go in. We need hard skills development. We need tough leaders who want to say, look, we bring jobs to this community. You won't get the job if you can't pass the drug test, right? We need people, and at the same time, if the kind of jobs that we're bringing, we're talking about green jobs, we're talking about jobs in information technology. We need jobs, we need the skill sets for the individuals that already live in the community to be able to get those jobs.
Wonderful. JL, 1 minute, please.
Well, I support the Office of Neighborhood Safety. I want to say that briefly, and I think it's extremely important that we leave that as a priority. Obviously, in hard budget times, we have to be successful and creative, and the Office of Neighborhood Safety does that. They bring in money from federal sources, and they bring in money all over the place, and that's why we need to keep that. And just to respond on the Hacienda, look at the voting records. My vote's on the Hacienda, with the exception of the theatrical vote to no support of Mr. Jones. My vote and Mr. Bouzet's are exactly the same on the Hacienda. So you can do breakfast or whatever, but that has nothing to do with policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next question, and let's go with the budget. A lot of people.
The mic doesn't.
Oh, yes, let's have the speakers stand from now on, thank you.
The mic's not.
Some of the mics are tethered to the tables, but if we can't stand, let's do that. So let's go with the next question to be on the budget. There's a lot of talk about the expenditures and the imbalance with the revenues and that deficit of about $7 or $8 million. Everyone wants to talk about the budget and the deficit, but few want to talk about the hard question of how do we close it? Where do we cut? And or where do we derive more revenues? So let's get some specifics about how we would close this deficit, because it can't continue forever. And mayoral candidate Bates, why don't you start off with that, please? Nat Bates.
Thank you. 1 minute is not adequate time to express the problems of the budget. Secondary, I have an appointment at 1 o'clock with the president of Comcast to talk about some very important programs here in Richmond. Number one, trying to reduce the rate for senior citizens as well as internet for the entire city. On the budget matter, the first thing you got to do, in my opinion, is do an audit. You need to know what your staff is doing. And believe it or not, we haven't had an audit in several years. On the second thing, we need to do evaluations of our staff. Staff have been working for years and have never had an evaluation in some department. With respect to the budget in particular, once you determine exactly what the problems are, we're going to have to try to find the revenue. And again, the only way you can balance a budget is increased revenue or reduction in staff. That means that we have to sort of bring businesses in, encourage them.
Thank you.
And I apologize for my departure, but as I indicated to Mr. Parker earlier, that I had this previous arrangement. So thank you very much, and I wish you well on your...
Thank you, Mr. Bates. Uche, why don't you take on this question? Where can we cut the fat in local government?
Well, I think our first debate, this question was actually asked. I said, number one issue is to do a comprehensive audit. I'm sorry, Mr. Bates hasn't lived, but that's where he got his answer that he gave you. I gave that answer very clearly. We need a comprehensive audit. If you can't be in government for over 40 years, you've not done the audit, now you want to do an audit. It's a joke. Let's be serious. We know what the problem is when you have folks to keep recycling the same people into office, they become part of the system. They're not there for you. So that's what you see here. So when he says he wants to do audit, it's laughable. Why haven't you done the audits all these years? So why haven't you attracted business all these years? You've had your chance to do that. Why haven't you done it? That's really the question here. That's really what this campaign is all about. It's about how do we move Richmond forward. It's not about how many years you've been in office. Both Mr. Bates and Mr. Bott have had the opportunities to really govern this community and do it well. They have failed to do it. So it's about time we begin to have a conversation how we move our community forward. How do we attract businesses here? And I'm the right person to do it. Let's stop the kidding around. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's slide over to Anthony Freer to get this question on. How would you close the deficit? Where are you going to get more revenue, or where are you going to make cuts?
That's a good question. Cuts, I'd have to do like Uche said. We'd have to take a look at all the situation. I'm sorry. I have a problem with these mics. But we do have to take a look at the whole picture before you can just cut some things. There are things that need to be cut, and we can find those things, and we can do that. But again, we also need to reinvest in the community, reinvest in our property here in Richmond. There's a lot of property here in Richmond that the city should take advantage of and put into work. If you look over in San Francisco, you see all those cranes going up. They're building. Why? Because that property is needed. It's valuable. All that space is going to run out. They're going to be looking for a place. So we need that here. Our downtown needs to be rebuilt. 100%. That downtown is really downtown. It should be up. You know what I'm saying? It should be upbeat. And that's what my platform is. I want to see the downtown come back. We have a perfect BART station, a train station, everything there to create a perfect opportunity for the city of Richmond. Thank you.
Jim Rogers, take on that question, please. You're on the council. What will you do?
Thank you very much. I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to give you glib 5-second sound bites that sound good, that are meaningless. I'm not going to say, oh, we can cut all kinds of stuff. Oh, we have a structural deficit. People say we've got a structural deficit of 7 million, but at the end of the year, we're going to have 12 million. So next time somebody jumps up and says 7 million is so bad, ask them what they want to cut. ONS, police, libraries. What are they going to do? That's what we've got to do to cut the money. What I'm about is not these glib sound bites, but about solutions. As I said earlier, 2 taxes, I spearheaded both, I raised money, I wrote the ballot arguments. The sales tax, right now. I got a campaign going on, I'm pretty busy. Guess what? Organizing the campaign, fundraising. Wrote the measure, the opposition, the support argument for it, the rebuttal to the opposition. Got people, community people like Myrtle Braxton, Linda Jackson-Whitmore, police, fire, etc., to sign on to it. So I'm somebody who's not going to give you the glib 5-second sound bites, but I'm in the trenches working on this stuff because it matters. And all this stuff we claim credit for, guess what? If we didn't have that $15 million from those 2 taxes that the voters passed a few years ago, guess what? Are we going to be able to have money for ONS? No.
Thank you. We're going to have, in a minute, we're going to have another question from Robert Rogers from the West County Times, but we're going to have Sister Tayshian go out in the audience and get your questions. So could you get your questions ready and we will have you address the panel.
Thank you. Another question. We've heard a lot about in the city of Richmond. Thank goodness there's been a great improvement in terms of crime and public safety. We're losing fewer lives. The quality of life in our communities has improved over the last few years. But to our neighbors to the north, there's a community called North Richmond, and many of us in this community have family and friends who live there as well. And that area is not part of the city. It is unincorporated county area, and we know that they suffer from a disproportionate amount of problems in terms of crime and public safety, and they get a lower standard of service than is provided by the city today. Do you have a policy toward North Richmond, and do you believe it should be annexed into the city? And how would your work in our city help improve the lives of people there? Henry Washington, could you please start that question?
I think that unincorporated North Richmond, should be annexed into the city of Richmond. And I think that sheriffs that patrol unincorporated North should work more closely with RPD. To kind of tie in an answer to the same question, a united council, united leaders, and their public relation with the city makes a stronger front. When it comes to crime, for instance, it's easy to draw a line between Richmond, the city of Richmond North, and unincorporated North. A lot of the taxes, West Contra County taxes, that should go towards unincorporated North do not. In other words, unincorporated North Richmond is the stepchild. And I think the first thing I would do is try to annex the city and draw us in together. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Beckles, could you please address this question?
Yes. One of the things that I have been talking about for quite some time, and I do talk with people from North Richmond, just to sort of get a temperature. And the temperature there is that they would love to be annexed to Richmond because, and I believe that's incredibly important so that we can utilize the same kinds of strategies, innovative, progressive strategies that we've used in Richmond to reduce our crime, to increase the quality of life for our neighbors. And I don't even consider North Richmond neighbor. I mean, I consider North Richmond Richmond. You know, we're all Richmond, and I really don't think that it's a good idea that it's separated by a little line when it still has the word Richmond. And so I work with families in North Richmond. I work with the organizations that are doing some incredibly good job in North Richmond. And so I believe that were that to happen, it would be important that we continue the direction that's working in Richmond. It's working. Let's make it happen in North Richmond too.
Thank you. Eduardo Martinez, please.
Yes, is, I spent a lot of time in North Richmond, and I've been talking to different people from Javonka Beckles, because the people in North Richmond that I talk to don't want North Richmond to be annexed because they don't want to pay the taxes. But whether or not we annex them, what we need to do is to make sure that the same police department governs the entire city. So I would propose that we negotiate with the county to farm out the police jurisdiction of North Richmond to the Richmond Police, because the Richmond Police have better people skills than the county sheriff. That's been my take on it. So we need to also work with North Richmond, whether or not we get their taxes, because they are Richmond, whether they pay taxes or not. You know, we need to get rid of that border, because when they call the fire department, when they call...
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Indian King, please.
You hear everyone talking about borders and policing. What about the quality of life for the people who live there? A lot of the agencies and organizations that serve North Richmond residents are actually based here in Richmond. So when you have organizations like Rubicon programs, organizations like Urban Tilth that exist, that go into those communities and serve those people and address the barriers of those people who commit the crimes, who have experienced poverty, who grew up in broken homes there, we need to create policies that will address the quality of life. How do you know how well the city is doing? The standard of living for the people who live there. Not how well we live, not how well our fat our pockets are, but how the quality of life for the people are.
Thank you. Mayoral candidate Tom Butt, can we hear from you on this issue, please?
When I first took office in 1996, one of the first things I did was introduce a resolution to study the annexation of North Richmond. I was convinced then that the annexation would serve Richmond well and it would serve the residents of North Richmond well. I have to tell you that it was met with a buzzsaw of opposition. The businesses out there were totally opposed to it. The community leaders were totally opposed to it, and it died without even getting started. There was so much opposition to it. I still think it's a good idea, but you know, you can't just, the city council in Richmond cannot just decide to annex North Richmond. The people out there have to vote for it. And if and when the people in North Richmond are ready to vote for annexation, I certainly would support it. I hope it happens. I hope it happens soon. But the will has to come from the people who live in North Richmond.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, candidates. I'm going to pass it back to Mr. Parker, and we'll get a few more questions in.
All right, Robert Rogers, West County Times. Just had a baby boy with it? Baby boy. Wrote a great article in the West County Times about me. I really appreciate you, Robert, and all your help. Isn't this fascinating, the different ideas we're having? Very good, very good. We're going to have Tayshian from the Post newspaper come. She's written down some questions that you guys had for our council members, and she's going to read them at this time.
Again, I'm excited to be here. My name is Tayshian Carmelli. I am the associate editor of the Owen Richmond Berkeley Post. Can you not hear me? So I'm really excited to be here. Again, Stephen, you're doing a fabulous job by having this type of forum here for the community to see, as well as I'm so excited to be here with Mr. Rogers. He was one of my professors at Cal, so it's really, really awesome to be here with him. It's an honor. So I want to start off with a question from a community member, which she says that you know that DMC is going to close. So what are you planning to do to ensure that a hospital is here in Richmond to take care of Richmond residents, and when are you planning to do it? Like, what's the timeline? So let's start with, can we start with Vice Mayor Beckles? Amen.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that question was asked again, because what I'm going to do is to do what I've been doing, and that's coordinate the efforts with the California Nurses Association, who are like the champions of keeping that hospital open. And I've been collaborating with them. I'm showing up at those rallies, because what I believe is an empowered community is a healthy community, is a community that gets what it wants. And so we as a community need to continue our actions in front of the hospital, in front of the college supervisors, in front of everywhere that needs to, every voice that needs to hear how angry we are by such an injustice in our community. We cannot stand around and just say, well, let's see what happens. No, we have the power to say this is wrong on so many levels. It's a civil rights, civil rights issue. It's a moral issue. It's a health issue. And so I've been with some of the council members here who have been supportive of different resolutions. We personally have sent things to our assembly, and I know there's a bill right now on the desk. 1 minute.
Would you like to answer that question as well?
Would I? Yes, I would. Inexperience again. J.L. Myrick said, I voted against the tax. Yes, I did. I don't want to see a tax put on the homeowners of the city of Richmond forever with no sunset clause. That means you pay that tax whether their clothes gone or whatever. I think everybody should buy into that. That's inexperience. But let me tell you more about inexperience. Myrick, Bud and Rogers, they had a little private meeting in Eric Zell's office, and Myrick wouldn't even step up and say, guess what? I'm not voting for Marin Energy to get our money. That money you're getting from Chevron's going to Marin on Bud's side. I want Doctors Hospital to have at least 10% from each one of us, and then we'll worry about something different. See, from the hood, they play you. As Antoine said, we can no longer be played. It's people who have nothing that are going to lose. As an elected official, Mr. Myrick should have said, hey, hold it, because the vote would have never went through. They had to go with it. Chevron said they didn't care where we spent the $90 million, long as we spent it with Richmond people. Thank you. So don't get caught.
And let's actually have Mr. Hamilton. Would you like to answer this question?
Who?
I'm sorry, Washington, I'm sorry.
Hamilton was a president too, I think.
No, Secretary Treasurer.
Secretary Treasurer. Thank you. Thank you, historians. I pray that Proposal 883 that's in Sacramento right now is passed. It would be as much as $6 million annually towards the $18 million deficit. I think the pessimism that some of us are carrying around Doctors Medical Center is catching like wildfire. It's going to close. I don't think that's our mindset. As much as 25 ambulances are being rerouted every day now, and people don't know where they can go. Now, it automatically makes Chevron, a private entity, larger and gives them somewhat of a monopoly. Now, that's not really my concern. However, how will, excuse me, I'm at Kaiser. How will Kaiser treat their non-members? Now, Code 3 emergencies are one thing, but for people that look like you and I, it's the Code 2 emergencies. Where will they go in the interim? We got to save doctors.
Thank you. I would like to segue into another question from a community member where they asked, what does the City Council plan to do to support the reentry population, especially with jobs and skill training and things of that nature? And I'm going to start that question off with Mr. King.
Well, returning residents who are from the reentry population definitely deserve an opportunity to re-enter society and to reintegrate themselves. But one of the things that's important in order to reacclimate yourself back into the community is to have a support system and to have resources available to you. I don't know if there's any praying grandmothers out here who had to raise their grandchild who got tired of that young man or young lady going in and out of the county jail or the prison system, but when they come home and don't have the adequate resources to reacclimate themselves to society, they turn back into crime. So it's about hard skills development. It's about supporting the programs and making sure that they have the resources to continue to do that successfully. It's also about changing the mindset of the community. One of the reasons why crime prevails in any community is directly correlated to economics. When you don't have jobs in the community, by the way, 35% of our young people couldn't even find summer jobs in this community. So we need organizations, again, like Urban Tilt, like Rubicon programs to make that happen. So let's continue to support those programs and understand that that population is our people too.
Mr. Curry, you're looking at me. I'm assuming you'd like to answer the question.
We need to have a cohesive plan.
Microphone.
When people get out of jail or become free from incarceration, that they have a time frame and a program where they can get their records together. Because once you're labeled a criminal, it's hard to shake that label. We have to give them a program how to shake that label. It's done every day. Every Tuesday here at the county, there's a lady that comes here and she helps you with exonerating your record. Now, that's one way of shaking that crime, that criminal thing. Because if you leave them stuck out there with this crime label, criminal label, it becomes repetitive. They go back to doing what they always did instead of doing what they need to do. So that's a good approach. We have to have programs that start that process as soon as they hit the street.
Thank you. And I would like to have Mr. Albert Martinez address this question as well.
Thank you very much. This all starts with communication. I thought you were waving, man. This all starts with communication. And certainly programs are needed. I'm always in touch with folks that are coming out and want to get reacclimated into the community. But we need pastors like Pastor Gandy, Pastor Whittemire, different ones that will take them into churches and give them, or at least avail themselves to role models. People coming out of prison or incarceration need role models. They need mentors. They need big brothers and big sisters, people that they can look up to. Because behind bars, they were let down. They have their backs turned against them. They come out, just like anybody else that's been away for a while, they're kind of gingerly about getting reinstituted in the community. They need big brothers and big sisters. They can work.
Thank you.
But are we going to trust them?
Thank you. I would like to segue to another question asked by actually one of the younger members of our audience right now, where they asked for the City Council, how are you looking to address the minimum wage here in Richmond? I'll leave that open for someone to start.
That'll actually address towards the mayors.
For the mayors, it's for the mayoral candidates. So, Mr. Okay, would you like to start?
Well, in terms of the minimum wage, I think that's already a settled issue. So the City Council has approved the minimum wage. So let's deal with the bigger issue. The bigger issue that we need to talk about is the opportunity gap that exists in Richmond. It doesn't matter if you have minimum wage of $20, $15, $10. They will have to work on really closing that opportunity gap, especially among our youth. We have over 35% unemployment among the youth. How are we working to close that gap? Our schools are not performing the way they should perform. Don't believe all the noise we're hearing. How are we working to close that gap? One of the ways I've proposed is to open up a technical school in Richmond that will begin to teach our young folks skills that will help them really compete in the global market. We're in the 21st century. So you ask for a real solution from these candidates. They give you elaborate answers, but they're not giving you real solutions. That's what we need here.
I joined the rest of the City Council, which unanimously voted to adopt a very aggressive minimum wage ordinance earlier this year. It was one of the first to be adopted in the state of California, one of the first to be adopted in the entire country. I'll give my colleague Javanka Beckles credit for being the leader on that, but at the end of the day, we all supported it. We're very proud of it. And it will go into effect in January of this year.
Thank you. I have a question. The audience member directed this question to you, Mr. Ramsey, but I think it applies to all council member and mayoral candidates to be ensured that you're able to listen to your constituents. So the question asked, and the community member stated that as president of the school board district, you do not listen to your parents. So they feel as if you do not listen to the parents. So how can they expect for you to listen to them now when elected?
Well, that has a presumption that I don't listen to parents, and I don't agree with that. So for me, having a question saying you don't listen, so they already have their mind made up. I think I'm very active, involved in the community, and I get out to all neighborhoods and speak to residents continually and constantly. Parents call me all the time. I talk to them when they call me. So I feel that I've been accessible, I've been open, and I'm willing to listen. And I think we've turned the district to a place that everybody can be proud of. So we got out of bankruptcy 7 years early. We've built every school here on the south side. I have the award-winning program, the Ivy League Connection. I'd send kids from Kennedy, Richmond. I had mock trial, move court programs. So I could parade out hundreds of parents who talked about the things that have been accomplished. So I understand, and I want to remind everybody that if they'd like to talk to me, they can always call me, 682-5600. My number is public, and I welcome anybody's communication. Thank you.
Are there any other candidates that want to answer how they?
Thank you very much for allowing me to answer this question. If you know anything about the name of Corky Bouzet, you can come to City Hall and see me in my office. Your mother calls me, your grandmother calls me, you call me. And if you can't find me there, you go to Casper's, you'll find me there. And if you can't find me at Casper's, that's right, all you got to do is leave a message and they will get it to me and I will get back to you. I think it's very important. And one of the reasons I have such dysfunction at the Richmond City Council is because I'm listening to you. I am not speaking for Corky Bouzet at the Richmond City Council. I'm speaking for you, just as you did on the minimum wage. What good does it do you to have a minimum wage when you don't have a job? You know, I bought a $200 million job here from China, and this man running for mayor, Tom Butt, was concerned about how I dressed. I guarantee you, if I went out there with those statespeople and was wrinkled up, he'd say, Corky don't even know how to dress, but he doesn't know how to dress. Look at City Council. They all look like bums except for Bates and myself. Thank you.
I think it's obvious that lack of respect for one another has taken place behind the dais, and I think that is transferred with our inability to hear from the populace. I think whether it's Doctors Medical Center, whether it's any issue, whether it's crime, if we can't communicate and show a united front, there is no confidence in you, our constituents. I think it is important, as we worked around education reform and violence, as gun violence, homicide decreases, it was important for us to bring together the ecumenical society, law enforcement, and the communities that were most devastated by the crimes. It is very important to me, and I think it is my specific gift to be a bridge and a collaborator of people. And I think that's what you want in the new Richmond.
Yes. I'd like to answer that because that's one of the things I'm incredibly proud of, because I get to serve you as a servant, as your public servant. That's the one main thing that I've done. When Point Richmond residents said they needed a new tunnel, it happened. When people said they didn't want fast food restaurants in their communities, I listened and voted accordingly. When people said we don't want a casino in our community, we want something better, educational, I listened. When the voters, voted to have, when Eduardo Martinez had 11,000 votes and didn't get, the people said this is who we wanted next, I listened. I have listened, and I continue to listen. Southside folks said, we don't want a dispensary in our community. I listened. Look at the way I voted, and you will see that because I represent you, I listen. I don't believe to have all the answers. When people in the entry said, we need that box taken off our applications, we can't compete, we need a level playing field, I listened and brought that forward to the city council, and it was adopted. When the community said, I'm not making enough money, Javonka, I can't raise my kids, we're having a hard time eating. They said that we need to raise the minimum wage. I brought that forward. So I listened to you, and that's the kind of representative you need, right?
One of our hosts here, Robert Rogers, in the Contra Costa Times, called me a prolific writer and communicator. And I think he did that because I am a person who communicates with my constituents. I tell people what I believe about things on a regular basis. There are thousands of people who subscribe to my newsletter, my e-forum, to find out my take on what's going on at the city. And by the same token, they give feedback to me constantly. I get hundreds of emails every week from people that have anywhere from a neighborhood problem to some kind of a global problem, and I try to pass these on to the appropriate city department, or I respond to them. I'm always there. You can email me, you can phone call me. I listen and I take action. Thank you.
Flow. I have a question that actually is brought up from, I guess, another one. It'll start with you, Uche, Mr. Uche, and then it will go to all the other candidates who would like to answer it. But they say Richmond is still without the youth. They play an important role in the creation and production of Richmond. Much of the crime in Richmond involves youth participants. What are your thoughts on the crime rates among Richmond youth?
That's a great question. My plan is simple. We have to provide opportunity for our young folks. We have to do that. Otherwise, we are wasting our time here. You know, we have over, like I said that earlier, over 35% unemployment among our youth. We have to begin to train these young folks so they have the skills to compete. We can't keep dancing around here about leadership. Leadership is about action and planning. So, number one thing, we need a technical school that will train our kids. Thank you. We need programs that will allow our kids to begin to compete. We can bring jobs here. That's what I've done forever. It's business. We can attract businesses here, but we have to have the kids that can compete, the skill level that can compete for jobs. That's what we're looking for in Richmond.
Number one, we need to, first of all, I want to thank some people in the audience right now. Mr. Paris, Michael Paris, he had a program at Kennedy High School called the FEAST program. It was a food education and service training. And I went to that program for 3 years. It was the best opportunity they gave me. It seemed like a small program, but it did my life well. And everybody who went there, it did their lives well. Number one, because it taught you to go outside of the school and deal with the public. The school downtown Richmond that they're building now is an exact thing that we need in the city. It's schools that are downtown that can teach kids to go out and trade with the rest of the community, learn how to talk and be amongst the community. Because when you set kids on a small school like Kennedy or Pinole or De Anza, they're stuck on an island and they create their own languages and they can't communicate when they go out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to respond with some specifics here. Crime is primarily in the city a problem among people on the younger end of the age scale. So when we cut down these homicides by 2/3, where is that happening mainly? Young people, 18, 20, 17, 25, whatever. When we saved Kennedy High School and the other schools, obviously, when you close neighborhood schools, the dropout rate about doubles. There's a study in Chicago showing this. Reading goes down by about 1 grade, and we prevented that. The Richmond Promise, Councilman Butt, Councilman Myrick, hung tough with Chevron. We were accused of extortion, okay? We were accused of extortion. And my response was, well, let's go to some other meetings and let's extort some more people. Because our city has been worked by out-of-town corporations for too many years.
Thank you.
We have to get something for Richmond, and we got it with Richmond Promise, and it will affect our kids. Thank you.
Mr. King has been waiting. I wanted to let him know.
Thank you so much. Let's face it, we have to be honest. As a young African-American male, sometimes the issues in a community like Richmond are cultural. And there are cultural nuances that sometimes people want to overlook because they want to act like we've come so far in our country. But the reality is sometimes we have a generation of young people, like I said before, who are misguided and undecided. And we're talking about a mindset change. You can bring all the programs that you want. If a person doesn't change the way that they process information, they'll go out and continue to do the same thing. So we're talking about a mindset change here, people. And so we're talking about being able to educate our young people to become stakeholders in our community. That's a language that some people, when you go into the Richmond townhouses, Crescent Park, areas like that, you have young people who have never even heard of the idea or the concept of stakeholder, let alone support anybody up here. Why? Because there's nobody up here usually that they can even relate to. So we have a young, apathetic vote out there, a sleeping giant in our community who isn't even registered to vote, who has no concern about civic engagement whatsoever. Why? Because it's been all this buffoonery that's been taking place. And so they disengage instead of going out. Representation in our community requires us to also go out and engage.
I just want to say both of the last two speakers actually are saying a lot of what I believe. So I proposed the Richmond Promise because I was seeing exactly what Damien is talking about. Because my peers, when I was growing up with them, it is a mindset. When you just know instinctively that the system is set up for you to fail, when you feel that in your gut because of what's going on in your personal life, but also because of you don't see investments made, and you go to a school that people say looks like a prison, and they're constantly talking down on your community. You need to see real action. You need to see a real investment for you to even be able to start to succeed. And the peers that I grew up with who went in the wrong direction, some of them are in prison now. Some of them are dead now. Some of them are on drugs now. If they had a Richmond Promise, they'd be around today.
Thank you. So I've been told that was the last answer for that question. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Parker. If you have other questions in the audience that you would like to have asked to the candidates, please raise your hand and I'll walk around to you and get your question.
Give it up for Stacey Young from the Post. Excellent questions. We have an opportunity to get some very insightful answers. Sorry, Charles, we'll have to get to you on the next one. We're going to bring Robert Rogers from the Post back, from West County Times back to ask another question. Just wanted to remind Bishop Chantil is here from New Hope Church. Next week, we will be having the Oakland Town Hall meeting. We will have all of the mayoral candidates there. Jean Kwan, she was on our show last week, and they're all going to be there at New Hope Church. What's the address, Bishop? 892 36th Street, one of the oldest Baptist churches in Oakland, California. Next week, the Oakland mayoral candidates. Robert Rogers, please.
Thank you very much. And so far, everyone's done quite well with keeping within the time constraints. I know it's been tight, but we want to hear from everyone multiple times for the audience. Another question came up. I wanted to pose this to some of the candidates, and that is the question of district elections. In a lot of large cities, diverse cities with different neighborhoods like Richmond, there are districts that require that there are certain representatives from each neighborhood. Mr. King mentioned something earlier today when he said that he thinks that he was the only candidate from the Triangle that may be elected since the 70s. And that may be true. And we also know that certain neighborhoods in this city are drastically overrepresented in terms of their population. So the question is about district elections to ensure that certain neighborhoods have representation. Is it necessary in this city? And if so, what will you do to help make that happen? And let's start with J.L. Myrie, please.
I actually support district elections. I think we have to look into it and figure out if the cost of it is something that's cost effective, but I think it is something that would be good for a number of reasons. For the reason that you talked about, again, I'm the only person on the council right now that lives on the south side, and there's other neighborhoods that aren't represented on the city council currently. Charles, on the council. But also because if you have district elections, you would actually reduce the cost. You would reduce big money in politics because it would cost less to communicate with voters because you'd be dealing with a smaller group of people. And I know other cities that are the same size as Richmond, their elections actually cost less. So you would actually have a campaign finance benefit for it as well. So I support district elections, and I would like to see us take that issue on.
Yes.
Thank you. Charles Ramsey, please.
Yeah, I'm going to respectfully disagree with Mr. Myrick there, because the underlying premise is that only certain people from certain neighborhoods can represent your interests, and it creates a stereotype and bias. I fought it when we're on the school board. I can represent anybody, any race, and I think it's unfortunate that we are stationed like that. In addition, you'll find districts where you'll have a district board should number candidates, and other districts where nobody runs. One person may run versus another. That's not fair. That's inequitable. And I think that's a problem when you see all this. In addition, a city of this size, people should be able to get all around and talk. So if you get a collection of people who don't live on the south side, and then the south side's isolated, your vote doesn't count. You're disenfranchised because now you can't vote for the people that are having an effect on you. I find it very, very difficult. And I think it underscores why they said I was the first African-American male ever elected to the school board. And I won not just because of Richmond, but because people in Hercules or Panola or El Cerrito or North Richmond voted.
Thank you. Al Martinez, please.
Thank you. That's an interesting concept, but I believe in one Richmond. I believe that as your servant to serve the entire city of Richmond, that you should be able to go in any community, any district, and get the needs of the people. As a police officer, I did that. As a postmaster, I did that. As a chaplain now for the Richmond Police Department, I do that. And it's what you present. It's the approach that you make that were received. By isolating and turning the districts, you're going to have just what the speaker before me said. You're going to have that isolationism, and it's not going to represent total Richmond. If you have a vote for Point Richmond and North Richmond is not involved, then your district's going to say, well, why should I be involved? I'm not the representative for that district. I believe in one Richmond moving forward, and that's where I stand.
Thank you. Damian King, please.
First of all, I think Richmond at one point in time, we did vote by districts. I'm not sure why that changed. Then again, maybe we didn't. Okay, so, but at the same time, you can't represent somebody you're afraid of. And so it doesn't matter whether or not we are at large. I believe in one Richmond too. But it doesn't matter whether or not you are at large or not. People still have psychological barriers and boundaries, cultural differences, certain nuances. People are not able to relate and understand one another. Maybe a well-diverse council can create the environment or atmosphere where it's conducive for people to develop a greater understanding of the community at large. But again, you can't represent a community that you're afraid of. If you live in Point Richmond and you don't ever come to the central or south side or whatever the case may be and engage people, visit churches and different things like that, how could you possibly relate to people that you don't understand? How is that possible?
Thank you. Eduardo Martinez, please.
Yeah, I've given this a lot of thought, and sometimes I'm for it, sometimes I'm against it, but I'll tell you this. When I go to different communities, I don't go there for votes. I go there to see what they need, to see what they're thinking. So I believe that if we can have district elections and still have one Richmond. Also, the idea of having districts means that we believe that every district in Richmond can represent themselves. We believe in the people. I think what happens with the no district elections, we're thinking that there's a certain set of people who can represent everyone, and we don't care where they're from. But I do agree that people in North Richmond know more about North Richmond than I do. That's because I don't live there. People in Southside know more about Southside because they live here. I don't. People in Point Richmond know more about Point Richmond because they live there, and I don't. I know about the concerns of Richmond Annex.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Great job. We just wanted to remind you, we do have some people here who have literature for you. Ms. Leona Austin, Women for Cancer. She has a table that's set up for any information you need in regards to that. We also have NAACP, a representative here for voter registration. So if you're not registered to vote, then please do so afterwards. And we also have Sister Sonia Dixon from the Social Workers Guild of West Contra Costa County with any information you need in those areas. We will have some refreshments afterwards. And we also wanted to remind you that during this time, we're going to go to closing remarks. And this is your opportunity to let the people know why they should vote for you. I hope you guys have been listening. There's been some interesting comments. We have asked them to agree to come on our show every quarter so that we can gauge whoever got voted into office if they said they did or if they did what they said they would do during that campaign. And so they all agreed to come, and so we're excited about that. So at this time, we're going to go from left to right. With the mayoral candidates first, we're going to have Mr. Uwamehu. Did I mess it up?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what it is, sir, please?
Steve, it's Uwahemu. If you can pronounce Schwarzenegger, you can pronounce it.
Right. This is Wahengu for Mayor of Richmond, California. Go ahead, sir. 2 minutes.
Thank you for coming. When I introduced myself earlier, I didn't have time to really give you a little bit better. I'm married with 2 kids, 2 boys, and I grew up in Washington, D.C. This election is not about me. It's not about Tom or Nat Bates. This election is really about the future of Richmond. Which direction do we go from here? These 2 men have had their chance.
That's it.
They've been in office for over 50 years combined.
Yes.
We cannot continue to recycle the same leadership and expect something better to come. It doesn't happen that way. This is the best chance we've had in decades to really chart a different direction for Richmond. I'm asking you to do that in November. I'm asking you to be part of that change. Most people don't know me. It's okay. I've been involved in many campaigns, from Obama's campaign to the lowest campaign. I've been involved in it. I've worked with the White House Business Council, one of the few businesses leaders across the country that participate in a lot of White House related business issues. So I've worked on the Workforce Investment Board here in Richmond. I'm on the County Economic Board. So I've been in business. I've developed businesses. I know how to do this. This is the opportunity we have here. Now let me remind you, most people don't know me, but folks know Bates and what he has done. Folks know Bob and what he has done. They've run for office of mayor 5 times combined. They have lost all, 0. That's the reason. Not because folks don't know them, because they are not capable of leading this community in terms of mayoral, what we're looking for in mayor. That's what it's all about. I'm not a typical noisemaker, but I believe in action. I believe in outcomes. That's what it's all about. So I'm asking you in November to take that action and make it happen. You have that opportunity. Make it happen. Give me that, your vote. Give me that trust. I'm the only candidate and I have not collected any money from any corporation, so I'm running on your behalf. I don't have any interest group supporting me. I'm running on your behalf. So thank you. Okay, thank
you. So I told you that that I would try to tell you some information that tells you why I'm different from the people I'm running against. My opponent, Mr. Bates, called me a master extortionist. He called me that because he didn't like the fact that I was part of a negotiating team that was able to negotiate an agreement for $90 million of community services for the people of Richmond. Now, to him, I'm a master extortionist. I look at myself as a skillful negotiator. J.L. Myrick and Jim Rogers and I spent many nights and days negotiating with Chevron over this community services agreement. And at the end of the day, we took it from a $30 million agreement to a $90 million agreement. And the biggest single piece of that was the Promise program that you've heard so much about. The ultimate objective is to guarantee every high school senior that goes to a public school in the West Contra Costa District, every Richmond senior, to be guaranteed full payment of tuition and expenses to college. I mean, that's huge. Again, my opponent calls that extortion. I call it a very skillful negotiation to obtain something for the people of Richmond that is really beyond value. In the last 4 years, if you add up another one, in the last 4 years, I've been part of 2 negotiating teams, including the last one, that has negotiated over $200 million from Chevron. That's paid for police, it's paid for libraries, it's actually paid for schools. The city of Richmond kept 3 neighborhood schools, including Kennedy High School, open.
Thank you.
Otherwise would have closed. Thank you.
Charles Ramsey, please. Yes, thank you all for coming today. And I also want to thank the council. Give a big round of applause for showing up today and being present. This is part of our civic responsibility and civic duty, so you coming out today makes a big difference as you go back into your neighborhoods, as you go back into your faith communities, as you go back into your homes, and I hope you communicate and describe and discuss with them everything you heard and learned today. Once again, my name is Charles Ramsey. I'm running for Richmond City Council. I've been active and involved in this community all of my life. My parents, my mother actually ran for the city council and served in the Employment Development Department. My father was retired Judge Henry Ramsey, who helped integrate the DA's office in the mid-60s. So we have a long, long history of community support. I also want to mention my brother leads the mock trial program, Ismail Ramsey, at Kennedy High School right now. I do want to thank the city of Richmond for all of the work that they did in keeping our schools open, but I kept my promise as well. You see the new Richmond Swim Center over there at Kennedy High being demolished and rebuilt, not just the one in the Point, but also a brand new one's coming there. That's the $8 million that we put to make sure that seniors and other people have that facility to use for the next 75 years. The $8 million we made committed there. But I want to also finally tell you that this race is critical. You have to have someone who understands finance and fiscal budgets. I took the school district out of bankruptcy and made it solvent. We didn't have to cut any teacher positions. We didn't have to cut any instructional minutes. Kids stay in school for 180 days, and we have services and after-school programs. Especially now with the local control funding formula, you have to have somebody on the council who understands how that partnership matters and have someone sit at the table to understand that values. Public safety is also critical, and we have to continue to do stuff around the infrastructure and the environment. I've done that. We have a $1.6 billion school building program, and they talk about all the things we've done. Please vote for Charles Ramsey on election day.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Javonte Beckles.
All right, thank you. So thank you all so much for coming here. It's really nice to see your faces because you want to be informed. And let me tell you about myself. I got a scholarship, full ride scholarship to one of the nation's top HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, Florida A&M, for basketball, and I excelled academically, graduated with honors. So I believe in excellence. That's why I'm running for city council, because I believe that we have an excellent city. We have potential in this city, and I ran because I currently work with children and children's mental health. And I believe that hurt people hurt people. So how do you change that around in Richmond? You heal people, because healed people heal people. And that's why I'm running for city council, and that's why I want your vote, and I ask for your votes, because I'm doing what it takes to heal Richmond. Look at it, and I'm gonna probably run out of time, so go to my Facebook page, go to my Twitter, go to my website, JavonteBeckles.net, and you will see that I have been consistently on your side. I am down for Richmond. I wasn't born in Richmond. You don't have to be born here to love it. You don't have to be born here to want to see it shine even more than it's shining, because we are going in a good direction, y'all. Don't believe the hype. We are doing some incredible things. Look around you and you can see all of our playgrounds have been renovated because we deserve good playgrounds. Our kids deserve the very best. Our kids deserve to know that they have a future and they have hope. And so I believe that an educated community as well, this community that will bring jobs here, and that we will create a community that's job ready through training. So again, look at my record. You will see that I am about Richmond. I am about improving the quality of life for Richmond, and that is what's going to bring jobs. And when they come, we're going to be ready. We're going to be ready because we've been creating some policies and innovative solutions to crime. That's why it's down. That's why I have been supporting ONS and the ceasefire walk and all the creative community solutions, because we are going to do this in Richmond, y'all.
Thank you. Henry Washington.
My name is Henry Washington, a native of Richmond, California. I live here and I walk these streets, from Canal to Cuddy, from Arlington to Alamo, from Gertrude to Barrett to Bayview. Now, if you want the same thing, vote the same way. If you want to shake it up, and if you want someone that represents you, black, brown, Caucasian, young, old, LGBT, ecumenical society, or whatever, that's me. I'm a broker for the people. The crime being down wasn't ONS per se. Wasn't Bay Area peacekeepers per se. Wasn't the sheriff's department. It wasn't even RPD. It was you getting in the streets with me. It was you walking in the day and walking in the night. I represent a new Richmond. And I want your support. And I want to represent you in city government. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony Creer. I'm Anthony Creer. I'm going to get this mic thing right this time. I live right down the street. I could have walked here, but my wife chose to drive me because she wants to be a part of this thing. And I appreciate that. But I live in the heart of Richmond. All of Richmond is me, and it's you. It's not north, south, iron triangle, or none of that. It's all of Richmond. You can't break it up into districts and make it better. You got to have all of Richmond all the time, 24/7. When you're in the council, you got to be all of Richmond. You can't be for the RPA, the NAACP, the YMCA. You got to be for Richmond. Believe me, I love those groups, and they have their places in life. But when you come as 7 people to make a decision for 102 to 106,000 people, you got to have your head all in one place. Now, if you go in there to work for your constituents, then yeah, you break the city up and you can work for your constituents because they'll vote you in and then somebody else will vote you out. But for the most part, the city of Richmond is one city, one pride and one purpose. The purpose now is, like Henry said, a new vision, a new opportunity for everybody. Young, old, gay, straight, black, white, Hispanic, new, foreign. If you stole across the border, if you're born here, it doesn't matter. Once you get here, you're a part of Richmond, and we want to make it better for you. Just vote for me, vote for change, vote for opportunity for everybody. The change is here, the change is now. You can do it. If you've always done what you always did, you're always going to get what you've always got. That's Reverend Shoemaker. I'm quoting him. God bless him wherever he is. But thank you. Vote for Anthony Creer for the 2-year term. Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to first say thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'm very new to politics, but I'm not new to community activism and community work. You know, I know what it's like to come from the bottom and come from struggles. I didn't had bullets whizzed by my head. Woke up in the morning with gun holes in the walls. You know, I've had to make grilled cheese with an iron and an ironing board, so I know what it's like to come from nothing. But to be a co-owner of a restaurant in a neighboring city, to publish a magazine, right? To be an individual who knows what it's like to come from the bottom and build themselves. You need people with not only good ideas, but also experience. And what it's like to change and transform themselves. And so that's what I want to bring to the city of Richmond. I also want to work towards enriched dialogue and increased communication between law enforcement and the community. I also want to support and help build upon social entrepreneurship in this community. And also, I also want to advocate for service-enriched and affordable housing for our residents. I think that's extremely important. But again, hard skills development. I'm currently a hard skills development specialist for Rubicon Programs, a 40-year-old agency in the community who is working to break the cycle of poverty. Because poverty is not sometimes just what you have in your pocket. Poverty is also a mindset. And so we need leadership that's not only representing, but again, who will engage, who will inform the people. All too often in our community, we find issues like Doctors Medical, where people in the community find out about it in the midnight hour, when it's almost too late to do anything about it. But accurate representation will also label to inform the people, not just during election seasons, but during your whole term in office. And that's what this is about. I also want to mention that I'm probably one of the only candidates out here who has funded his own campaign. And it's not because people haven't been knocking at my door or attempting to manipulate my position, but I'm doing this because I believe in this community. I believe that I can bridge the gap between races, between mindsets, between cultural differences, and I also believe that young people need to participate in the civic process in this community because they are the future.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Eduardo Martinez, and I'm a retired teacher. And as a retired teacher, I can tell you that I know how to listen. And not only listen, but to hear what people are saying. Not just with their voice, but with their actions and with their mannerisms. I know how to work with people. So if you want someone on the city council who has people skills and can work with everyone, that's me. Richmond needs money. And the way to bring money is to bring businesses. And the way to bring businesses is to make Richmond an attractive city.
Yes.
Now, we have a shoreline that's a gold mine. And everyone wants to develop on the shoreline and leave downtown empty, decrepit, a slum. We need to build up McDonald Avenue, 23rd Avenue. We need to infill those places. So I propose to do a study, find out who owns all those properties on McDonald Avenue, put together a consortium and have those people talk together and come up with a plan and bring investors in to realize that plan. We need to work together to make Richmond, one Richmond, a Richmond that will bring in money. We found that along McDonald Avenue, people who live half a mile on either side of it spend 75% of their expendable income outside of Richmond. We need to keep that money in Richmond, and we do that by developing McDonald Avenue, infilling, and making this the place that people want to stay, people want to enjoy. And we also need to make sure that Chevron is held accountable. I want to be the person that makes sure that Chevron becomes the world leader in safety. So, when it's time to vote, elect Eduardo Martinez. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you, everyone that's come out. Certainly to the panel. I really admire all your leadership, your tenacity to go forward, and your courage. I really do. But Richmond has to change.
Yes.
We need to look forward to a transitional leadership, and I'm ready to take on that post. I'm willing to be your champion. I'm ready to be your champion. I know I mentioned that I recently retired, but I want to go to work. I want to roll up my sleeves. Because I know, especially being here in this beautiful temple, that only what you do for God will make a chance, will make a difference. Only what we do for Christ will last. How many believe that? I believe that. I'm a pioneer for that. But we have to get out into the community. We are working for you. I want to serve you. I've done it in the past. I'll continue to do that. God has blessed me with a unique ability to lead men to make a difference. I want to continue to make that difference. Whether I'm there or not, I'm going to make that difference. Vote for Al Martinez November 4th.
Thank you. J.L. Ryder, please.
Well, thank you. So, what I've done over the past 2 years is I've done my best to impact policies that are going to make life better for Richmond residents on a whole range of things. Doctors Medical Center was talked about a lot. All I'm going to say about that is all you have to do is read the articles by Robert Rogers about Doctors Medical Center, whether it was at the beginning of the year with that special meeting, whether it was around Measure C, whether it was around the Chevron project, whether it's around SB 883, which is on the governor's desk right now. I've been involved in every single step of that, and I hope we'll all call the governor and ask him to sign SB 883 so that Doctors Medical Center can get some more support. Whether it's been fighting for the young people, which has been my passion, which I've been pushing since the day I came on the council. That's what I'm working towards, and I want to make sure we get it right. I want to make sure the Promise program is a success, and I hope you all will help me in that. But what I also want to make sure that we do is we do have to get to a council that is more civil, that is a professional legislative body. And you've seen just tonight, I've taken a lot of hits here tonight, and that's cool. You know, when you're doing the work, as Mr. Martinez said, when you're doing work for God, you're always going to get hit. There's always going to be haters. But you got to keep fighting and you got to stay focused, and that's what I'm focused on. I do want to correct the record on one thing, though. I've got accomplishments under my belt over the last 2 years. One of the people that I'm running against, Mr. Bouzet's been on the council for 4 years. He doesn't have any major accomplishments because he'd rather fight with people. And he told you that he secured some $200 million program. He's talking about the Terminal 1 project. We all know, all of us on the council know, that happened as a result of years of relationship building from our port director, Mr. Jim Mitzorkis, and to his credit, Councilman Renat Bates. He wants you to believe that he went to China and in 1 week secured that program. If you believe that, then I've got a great wall in Beijing I'd like to tell you.
Thank you, man. Jim Rogers, please.
Thank you very much. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to thank all my colleagues up here for running. It's a tough business sometimes. Appreciate them being here. And I just want to go back to the start of this. Mr. Parker who's pretty cool. I think we might get him out to the city council to kind of bump up our ratings a little bit. He seems pretty sharp. But he struggled a little bit with the name of one of the candidates for mayor. So I just want to show you that I got this down. So I'd like to say, do I have this correct? Tom Butt. Thank you. So
You'll be here all week.
So I'm again running on my record. We talked about things like getting rid of the cigarette and alcohol billboards. I led that one. I wrote an initiative in '91 to do it. We got the best offer from the casino, which went down, but we had 40% of the jobs guaranteed for Richmond residents. Flat guarantee, 2,000 jobs. That was me. We have our first source agreement, which I wrote to guarantee preference for Richmond residents in hiring. My measure. Why have I gotten all these things done? As the Contra Costa Times says, I can work with my colleagues. I said, to his credit, Jim Rogers can work with his colleagues. So when we go up and go into madness, people attack me. I don't fire back. It's not because I don't have answers or snappy one-liners. It's because it means that you can't work with your colleagues, and when we're up there arguing with each other, guess what? The public tunes out. We can't work with you. Things we got to work with you on that are important. One of those is the sales tax, Measure U. It's really simple. Police, potholes, fire, library, lose about $75 million of that we had to cut out of our budget, or lose about 2 or 3 cents a day to the sales tax. So you got to figure that out. But if you think, like I do, that I'd rather have the streets fixed, I'd rather have the police, the fire, the libraries, then I hope you'll help with our campaign, which I'm leading, to get this word out, make sure people understand most of this money is paid for by rich people, out-of-town people. No, Richmond. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support.
And lastly, Corky Bouzet, please.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start this off on a down note. I am totally disgusted that Javanka Beckles had said that I was homophobic. And I'm telling you, I'm getting ready to deal with that because we don't need that kind of talk here. Now, let me go one step further. I want to thank Mr. Stephen Parker because, you know, Stephen Parker, you need to come to the Richmond City Council and you need to be the mayor because you know how to treat people and you know how to run a good, solid meeting. See how it happened here. Now, you turn around and you talk about what these people have done. You don't have to check my record. It speaks for itself. Once again, inexperience. J.L. Myrick don't even know. Before he even got on the council, I was in China as a council person, putting my connections together. Whether you know it or not, Mr. Myrick, as vice mayor, I went back and concluded the deal with it. You don't know his name, but it's Mr. Wu, Terminal Number 1, which is going to bring jobs to the city of Richmond for the next 5 years. But you hear them talking about fixing stuff up. This man, Tom Butt, and I say things the way they are, shut down the Martin Luther King Center. He tore your center down here. I've been trying to get a project done on Marina Way and Cutting. That's the only thing I failed at so far. But you might not like the way I do things, but you know what? The end result is I get them done. And I get them done for you. And that's what I work for. I might be a little aggressive and so on and so forth, but you know what? I never take a place where I shouldn't be. I take a place for the people of the city of Richmond. I was right here on Cutting. This gentleman, Robert Rogers, sitting here, when he came out of Cal, guess who he came to see first? Guess who got him going? Corky Bouzet. He rode with me. Okay? The rest of the journalists, same thing. And I want to say, Mr. Parker, when he put his stuff together, hey, what's going on in Cutting? I represent you, the people. You know, I don't have to take on these people. Check my record. They don't do their homework at the council. When you ask them questions, what'd you say? That's right. You know, I sit up there and I fight for you. They say I'm rude and improper. I never speak unless I'm acknowledged at the Richmond City Council. Anything on the south side of town, I deal with. But you see what happens here? This is an RPA that disrespects us as a group of people. I'm not going for it. Give us the same thing you give everybody else. Mr. Stephen Parker, I want to thank you at the Stephen Parker Show. I want to say to your mama, text Anita Blewett, she did a hell of a job with you. Thank you very much for having me. Give Stephen Parker a hand.
Always interesting when Corky Bouzet. Yeah, okay. Vote for Corky, he told me to say. I got to be impartial, he said.
Let's thank all these council member candidates and mayoral candidates. Thank you guys for coming out. Hold on, we just wanted to let you know that they are running, and you heard what they had to say. I think you showing up today said that you care about your community and the city. Is Richmond in the house? I said, is Richmond in the house? All right, we're going to vote the right people in for a mayor and also for a city council. I'd like to thank Pastor Mark Gandy. Oh, my brother, you are a wonderful brother, man. You have such a great heart. Thank you for opening your house up to us and allowing us to come in. Please pick up your things after. We'd like to thank these mayoral and city council candidates. Brother Robert Rogers from the West County Times is here. Tayson was here. Thank you so much. All of the photographers and media personnel for all of your continued support. All the pastors and ministers that are here today. We thank you for coming. We thank Ms. Leona, Sonia, and Brother NAACP for coming. And most importantly, we thank you, the city of Richmond, who showed up. I am so honored that you guys came on my invitation and all of these wonderful candidates. Thank you so much. God bless you. You've been tuned into the Steve Parker Radio Show, KGM1.com. I'm out.